It's necessary. It's not fun, and it's difficult, but it's gonna get done. That's all I got. Any of you guys want to talk a little bit before we wrap up here?
I'm glad we saved the exciting part for the end.
Goddamn right, you are too. I know that. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to yet another CHG Weekly Recap. I don't know how many weekly recaps this is in a row, but it's a lot. So, if you don't know, we are CHG Law, which is your South Florida personal injury team, and we are on the rise, ladies and gentlemen. To the moon?
To the moon.
Anyway, we're here to do a recap, which is basically to talk about what it's like to live a week in the life of a law firm owner. With that being said, we will start off with the man to my right, Igor. Actually, let's start with Dylan Gonzalez, because he's got a very interesting story. He just engaged in a little adventure.
Actually, can't really tell a story yet until
I mean, I can tell it, but I have to be very careful on how I say it.
Dylan Gonzalez, what'd you get into this week?
This week's been pretty eventful. I think I was reliving some public defender days.
Reminded me of going with you to James Bradify, that other PD client, if you remember, Stall.
It's supposed to be my weekly recap, but apparently Cam wants to tell his.
Papa's taking it! Papa's taking it!
But no, so this week's been a good week. Apparently I was really committed to the cause of getting my cup of coffee. I was negotiating with one of these adjusters on one of our cases, and there was an opportunity to close. And our client, God bless his soul, it's got a really tough go at it, He happens to be homeless, going through some really terrible times, doesn't have a roof over his head, and so frankly his settlement's going to make all the world of difference in his life and the things that he's able to do. But, as it turns out, the phone number and the contact information we had for him obviously was not good at the time. He either couldn't afford his phone bill or just simply lost his phone. But the reality is we had to find a way to track him down, and it really wasn't the type of thing that I could kind of rely on an investigator to do because it was more time sensitive than anything else. So frankly, I just dropped everything I was doing, was able to get in touch with a close friend of his and find out, really the quadrant that he happened to be living in Miami. And so, like I said, I was really reliving my PD days because I haven't, had to track down witnesses or hang out with like the homeless community as much. And so that was kind of, I guess, a nice little blast from the past. But I was able to kind of do that. I did that literally for like 4 or 5 hours today. Tracking him down actually turned out to the easy part. It was actually trying to account for a lot of the other legal things that I had to kind of put into motion after I did find him, so that there were no issues in terms of him being able to collect the settlement and, get paid and things of that nature. So, it was a good day. I'd say the non-legal side that was actually kind of nice and refreshing is that going back to the PD days, the one thing that was always nice is, being able to kind of interact, see what was going on with your clients, that are in these real tough situations. And obviously as a PD, the nature of the client, the type of client you have, they're really going through difficult circumstances by and large all the time. And, just kind of be able to sit down with him, talk with him. It was really humbling. Give him just, whatever advice I could try to give to kind of like help him get out of this, tough little spot he seemed to find himself in. And it was really rewarding to be able to kind of, I think, not just have that conversation with him and talk to him, but then also be on the back end where we're able to provide a settlement that is really going to be life-changing for him because it's a substantial sum of money. So yeah, this week was a good week. All the administrative stuff obviously was super boring and paled in comparison to that, but that was pretty much it. John?
Oh, before we get to John, just as a congratulatory prize for Dylan getting out there and being a gumshoe that he is, we're going to get him a yellow duster to be like his favorite detective. You want to ask John what he did?
Yeah, John, you know all about dusters.
So, since we have limited time on these recordings and Dylan's used about 95% of it, I'm going to keep it brief this week, which is probably in line.
Hey, it's simple. He settled no cases. Next.
As of now, neither did he. Anyway, this week has been, I'm tired. It's just been a grind. I feel like I've accomplished a lot, just tasks that had either piled up or, things that I just had to plow through and get done. Again, still, we have some cases out there where we have, substitute service needs to get handled for people who don't even live in the country. So just kind of getting on top of that stuff and taking accounting of it and making sure things moving in the right direction. Just a lot of like tedious little things that I've been able to, sort of get on top of. Had a deposition today. The one real interesting thing that I had where, as it turned out, it resulted in me right after the deposition filing a motion for leave to amend the complaint. And of course, that was objected to by the defense, even though the law is pretty clear. Leave should be freely granted. So I don't really know what the objection is, but it's going to be fun to find out. But not really a terribly interesting week. Otherwise, it was a very productive week. The one other real good thing that I got to do was meet with Sean, one of our senior assistants, and really had a good conversation about trying to streamline like the sort of, when a case is queued up for trial, all the different things that need to happen and who's going to be responsible for those things and what's the timeline on getting those things done and really who's overseeing it. So, we have a process like that in place already, but we're trying to sort of tighten it up and make sure that it runs and that we're using Sean, as best we can now that she's in the fold. And we got some trials coming down the pike in the next, 45 days or so. So productive week. I'm tired, but, money never sleeps, right? Igor, what have you been up to?
No, in all seriousness, what did I do? Oh, we're switching banks. So I spent a lot of time.
You have to save all the fun stuff for yourself, bro.
Tell them why though.
Yeah. 100%. So we have been banking with, it used to be BB&T, now it's Truist, which is like they bought or merged with SunTrust, and they both suck. BB&T used to suck, but they didn't suck bad enough that we had to put everything down and like deal with it. It was like, okay, they suck, and like every couple months it was like a new thing they sucked at, but we had a lot of other shit going on, so it wasn't priority. But as you know, we are a personal injury firm, and we're growing pretty fast. And one of the things that every personal injury firm needs, should have at all times, is a credit line. Because you never know when you're going to need to tap into it, either to grow your marketing, either to like fund like a big case, just stuff that may come up, some opportunity that may happen. And you're not going to be sitting around on $250,000 in cash just waiting for the opportunity if you have somebody who's going to front it for you. So anyway, like 8 months ago, we started this process of applying for a credit line with Truist, our bank. They asked for all kinds of shit, like, the balance sheet, the personal tax returns, the PA tax returns, just about anything you can imagine, which is fine because they're going to lend us a lot of money as a credit line. But like 8 months into it, after like they dragged their feet and like we would chase them down and they would take like weeks to get back to us and all this other shit, the guy says to me like, oh man, like we actually don't do credit line for contingency firms. Huh. Essentially saying we don't do credit lines for firms like yours that you collect when you win the case. And it's like, motherfucker, like, shouldn't you tell me this 8 months ago so that I don't waste my time for 8 months doing this process and sending you all this paperwork? Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Then he proceeds to tell me like, oh, by the way, like I checked with the SBA and I checked with like our business loan department, and like nobody does credit lines for contingency firms. And I was like, bro, like what am I supposed to do with that information?
That's bullshit.
Yeah.
That's bullshit, by the way.
Yeah, that is absolute bullshit, right? But so I was like, what am I supposed to do with that information? Like, why are you telling me this, right? If I'm looking for a credit line, why are you telling me that nobody does it? How does that solve my problem? Anyway, there was no good answers to that conversation. Long story short, we switched banks. We're in the process of finishing that switch. It's going to be finalized in the next 30 days. We ended up with a bank called First Citizens. They do give credit lines to contingency firms. I mean, yeah, it's probably a lie, right? Like, it's probably not going to be real money, right, when it's needed. But anyway, so they do credit lines. They do pretty substantial credit lines for firms like us. And it's great. But, it's a whole bunch of paperwork. We got to move the accounts. We got to, like, make sure that, the trust account is 100% reconciled, because if you move something and you're not supposed to and a trust check bounces, that's, like, a really big deal and all kinds of shit. So I spent a lot of my week doing that. I spent the remaining of my week meeting with Sean we're rebuilding a whole bunch of stuff that's going to make us operate at a higher level. That takes time. And I spent some of my week litigating. So I have these personal injury cases I'm working on, one of which is like a pretty odd scenario, like a case we don't really see often. So I'm like spending hours online, like doing research about the specific situation, industry research, met with the experts, like all kinds of stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much my week. I guess we're done, right?
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
John, you want? Yeah, John won.
Yeah, you were. Oh, right.
No, you saved the best for last.
Cam, what is it?
Wow, these.
You want me to go twice?
No, definitely. I don't know if I want you to go once. Let me just collect myself after all of that really interesting stuff that all these guys are saying. Holy shit! No, these guys are great. They're really good once you get to know them. I'm just playing. Anyway, this week we'll go personal, we'll go work. This week personally, Albertico, my oldest son, started up at Taekwondo. And he just cannot believe that there are places you can go where the object is to punch and kick. And he was like, usually it's off bounds. You can't do that. Can't hit his sister, can't hit his parents. But he goes there and they're teaching him how to do it. And he was like, what? This is great. So he's very excited. And I really enjoy watching him do it. So on the work side, I got data capture on the brain. So I got the policy for data capture, the weekly report, almost done. And God damn it, I can't wait for this thing to be over. Now I understand why most businesses don't actually put into place policies and procedures, because it's a son of a to put it all together and have it it, the instructions written out in ways that you actually want it to be done so it works properly in the future. Because it's a lot of front-end work for payoff that doesn't come right away. But, we're building CHG to be something that lasts and that has space to grow and to scale. And so to do that, we have to have systems. So it's going to be done this week, and then I can work on the next thing to build. So that's what's been going on here.
What are you building? And what is this metrics and policies? Like, what is it for?
So this is basically the leads tracking data capture system, which is a long way to say basically we capture all of the data that comes in for people who contact the firm for legal issues that they need help solving so that we can know who's calling us up or what type of legal trouble. If we do that kind of work, that we can make sure we help them as best as we can. And if we don't do the kind of work they're calling up for, that we can get them to people who do good work, who we know, like, and trust to help them solve those problems. And so it's part of making sure that in the future we can make good decisions on how to find more people to help and to help better. In order to do that, we have to operate on data and not feelings. So in order to operate on data, you have to collect the data. And in order to make sure you don't spend all of your precious time or our precious time doing that particular work, we write down how to do it, train our people how to do it, and then have them do it. And then we will be able to focus on other work that's also high level and is going to build another part of the machine to get going. So yeah, that's it. It's necessary. It's not fun and it's difficult, but it's going to get done. Anyway, that's all I got. Any guys want to talk a little shit before we wrap up here?
I would say the exciting part for the end.
Goddamn right, you are too. I know that. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, hello. Do another good week. Also, I'd like Dylan to take the intensity down a little bit. Sometimes it's hard to relax with him around because he doesn't exactly lower the intensity, just to chill. You know what I mean? To get people to relax.
Self-awareness, bro.
That's all right. I believe with practice, we'll all get there.
It's possible.